So now I want to talk about the central bank. So what's a central bank? Central bank is an institution designed to oversee the banking system and to regulate the quantity of money in the economy. So central bank is different from a commercial bank. So what's a commercial bank? Wells Fargo, Chase Bank, Bank of America, IBC Bank, right? So basically a commercial bank, you can walk in, you can open a personal checking saving accounts, right? You can get an auto loan, you can get a mortgage, you can get a personal loan, right? So a commercial bank performs such function. Central bank is different. You can think of a central bank as the boss of all commercial banks. So let's go back to the US banknotes. For this 100 US dollar bill, right? Look at here. So who has the authority to issue US dollars in the United States, right? So it is Central Bank of the United States. It's called the Federal Reserve System. Here, you see the insignia, the Federal Reserve System, right? So the Federal Reserve as a central bank making important monetary policies. So for example, how much money to supply to the general economy, right? So the central bank controls the money supply. So let's supply 2 trillion US dollars, right, to the US economy. Central bank makes a monetary policy to control or influence money supply. So that's why here, if you take out your banknotes, right, you see on the left-hand side, right, this is 100 US dollar bill. This is $50 bill, right? You see here the symbol or insignia of the United States, the Federal Reserve System. So that's the Central Bank of the United States. So if you don't recall the name of the central bank, right, you just take out the money, cash from a wallet, right? Take a look at here, the Federal Reserve System. That is the central bank of the United States. And of course, on the other side, there's another symbol or insignia. That is U.S. Treasury Department. Excuse me. So the Federal Reserve as the central bank sets monetary policies regulating how much money to supply to the general economy, right? But the Treasury Department actually prints this paper money. So that's why for this 100 US dollar bill, right, it bears 2 symbols, the central bank, the Federal Reserve System, and the Treasury Department. So it's a joint work between the central bank and the Treasury Department. Okay, so the Federal Reserve, the central bank in the United States, is also called the Fed in short. So the Federal Reserve is run by the so-called Board of Governors, which has 7 members appointed by the President and must be confirmed by the US Senate. So the governors have a 14-year term. So each governor, if confirmed, right, is going to serve a 14-year term. Here, this is the homepage of the Federal Reserve System. You can simply Google Federal Reserve here, federalreserve.gov. This is the homepage. So Federal Reserve, its headquarters is called the Board of Governors, which is located at Washington, D.C. So the Federal Reserve is the central bank of the United States, right? And it provides the nation with a safe, flexible, and stable monetary and financial system. So that's why central bank, the Federal Reserve, plays a very important role in the US economy. Okay, so now let's learn more about the central bank or the Federal Reserve System in the United States. We can click about the Fed. You can take a look at a short video, right, from the Federal Reserve to know more about the central bank in the United States. So currently, there are 7 board members, but recall this slide here. There are supposed to be 7 members, but as of now, there are only 5 confirmed sitting members on the board. So the leader is called the chair of the Board of Governors, the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, and the 4 more members, right? So that means the US federal government, the White House, should nominate 2 more candidates for board members, right? And of course, they must be confirmed by US Senate. Okay, there's supposed to be 7 members, but now we only have 5. And the current chair, the leader among the board of governors, is called the Federal Reserve Chair, is Jerome Powell. Okay, so let's take a look at the structure of the Federal Reserve System. So at the very top, the American Central Bank is called the Federal Reserve System. The central bank is responsible for setting monetary policy. For example, how much money to supply to the general economy, right? And also, central bank regulates all commercial bank. Central bank, the U.S. Federal Reserve, regulates Bank of America, Chase Bank, IBC Bank, or Wells Fargo, and Wells Fargo. Okay, that's at the top level. One level down, the Federal Reserve System involves the so-called Federal Reserve Board of Governors, which is the headquarters, the brain of the Federal Reserve System, located at Washington, D.C., right? And if you still recall, the current chair is Jerome Powell, nominated by President Trump. In addition to the Board of Governors at Washington, D.C., the Federal Reserve System has 12 regional banks, so-called Federal Reserve Banks. So the entire nation, right, is divided into 12 districts, and each district is governed by a particular Federal Reserve Bank. So look at here. So in Texas, right, so Texas belongs to District 11. So District 11 here is called the Federal Reserve Bank at Dallas. Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. This particular regional bank is responsible for District 11, which includes the entire Texas, part of New Mexico, and the part of Louisiana, right? And the District 12 here, District 12 controlled a lot of states, right? California, Arizona, Utah, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Nevada, Hawaii, and Alaska, right? That's District 12. District 12 is called the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. So we have 12 regional banks located at 12 regional cities: Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Cleveland, Richmond, Atlanta, Chicago, St. Louis, Minneapolis, Kansas City, Dallas, and San Francisco. Okay, so we have 12 regional banks. For each regional bank, its leader is called the President of the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. This guy, Robert Kaplan, right, is the current sitting president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. And for each regional bank, it also has some local branches. So the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, right, has 3 local branches, one in El Paso, one in San Antonio, and another one in Houston. Okay, so we have 12 regional banks, right? But not all of them are equal. One regional bank in general ranks higher. That means it's more important than the remaining 11 regional banks. Can you guess which one? The answer is number 2. Federal Reserve Bank at the district number 2. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York at New York City. So this regional bank is more important than the remaining 11 regional banks. You're going to see the reason why later. Okay, let's go back here. So at this level, the Federal Reserve System, right, includes its brain, the core. It's called the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, located at Washington, D.C. And the Federal Reserve Bank also includes 12 regional banks, right? So in Texas, Texas belongs to District 11, the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. And the top committee, the committee making important monetary policies, right, regulating or controlling money supply in the United States, is called the Federal Open Market Committee. That's called decision making, the core of the Federal Reserve System. Let me give a very simple example. If the Federal Reserve, the central bank, wants to print, let's print $5 billion more, right? And dump those $5 billion to the economy, right? That decision must be made by the Federal Open Market Committee. So this Open Market Committee is very important. This committee decides whether or not to increase or decrease US money supply and how to regulate the banking system in general. So the Federal Open Market Committee. This committee should have 12 voting members. So all committee members, right, they meet periodically, they discuss current events, current economic situations, right, and then they're going to decide whether or not to increase or decrease money supply or to change the monetary policy to reset the interest rates, right, to help boost economic growth. So what's the structure of the Federal Open Market Committee? This committee should involve 12 members, right? Who should be on this very important committee? Here. All board members, right? These 5 guys, right? Should be 2 more. They should be they are guaranteed seats at the Federal Open Market Committee, like the current chair, right? Jerome Powell. So all board members, they are guaranteed seats at the Federal Open Market Committee called FOMC, Federal Open Market Committee, FOMC. Supposed to be 12 members, right? There are 5 seats remaining. But wait a minute. There are 12 regional banks. The head of each regional bank is called the president of each regional bank. So for example, the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, right? We only have 5 remaining seats. How to allocate 5 remaining seats among 12 regional bank presidents? Here, that's why New York Bank is more important. This 1 seat guaranteed or reserved for the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. So then we have 4 seats left, right? So all these 4 seats, remaining 4 seats, right, will be allocated on a rotating basis among the 11 remaining regional banks. So now 2020 committee members, right? So we have all board of governors and the New York president, New York regional bank president, plus Philadelphia, Dallas, Minneapolis, and Cleveland, right? 4 more. And for their next meeting, since regional bank presidents, right, they serve in this committee on a rotating basis. In the next meeting, Richmond, Atlanta, San Francisco, and the Chicago presidents, right, they are going to be the FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee members. Here we can see this is the bank rotation or the schedule. Which regional president banks, right, are going to serve in the Federal Open Market Committee to make important decisions regarding money supply in the United States. And as you can see, 1 seat is always reserved for the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. So the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, right, ranks higher than the remaining 11 regional banks. So the Federal Reserve Bank of New York is more important than the remaining 11 regional banks.